Well, things got heated up in Austin over the weekend. I'm not talking about the weather. U.S. men's soccer team blasted Grenada for 5 goals last Friday. Jesus Ferreira netted 4 of them. 21-year-old scored 1 before the break, added a second-half hat trick as the USMNT extended its home undefeated streak record, tying 26 straight games in what is the final scheduled home match before the World Cup. His 4 goals ties a record for most in a game. 5th time the mark has been achieved, and the first since Landon Donovan scored 4 against Cuba in 2003. Taking a look at the leading scores during the qualifying window. By the way, for Ferreira there, 21 years, 168 days, also the 6th youngest player to record a hat trick, taking his scoring tally now to 7 goals in 12 matches. All right, let's say a happy belated birthday to one Luis Miguel Echegaray, host of the Que Golazo podcast, dropping knowledge here on the Q. So it's an ongoing question. We don't know if it's been answered, Luis, but the quest for a number 9 for Greg Berhalter certainly had somebody auditioning for that role. What are your thoughts as we prepare for the Fall and Winter World Cup here?
Yeah, well said, my friend, and thank you so much for the belated birthday message. I won't even tell our people how old I am.
You don't look a day over 30, bud.
Thank you, brother. I'm 21 twice, so let's just say that. But thank you so much, everybody. Listen, I think the number 1 objective for the USMNT now that they've qualified for the World Cup remains, as you mentioned, the number 9 spot. It's clearly the most coveted role when it comes to the USMNT and what they have to do, not just in the Nations League, which, let's face it, is just really an opportunity for Greg Berhalter to get the reps in for his boys, but it's really about, making sure that when you play away from home, when you're at the World Cup, when things are not going your way, you're going to need a good number 9. Jesus Ferreira, the Colombian-born striker who plays for FC Dallas, is one of these players. Now, obviously, Ricardo Pepi was the talk of the talk last year, and things have not gone his way since moving to, Germany. But Jesus Ferreira, this player right here, he is another player that we're now considering as, can he be the person that does the job for the USMNT, specifically after scoring 4 goals, against Honduras. And this is a situation now where Greg Berhalter has to say, what can we do in this role? Because we have enough creators. We have enough people, right? The Weston McKennies, the Christian Pulisses, the Brendan Aaronsons, players who are actually going to develop even more as the beginning of next season continues. My worry for Jesus Ferreira is that, and with all due respect, is that he's still very untested in international waters. What can he do away from home against the likes of a France, against the likes of a Switzerland, against the likes of an African team? Because those are going to be the biggest tests. And also, let's not forget, right? And again, with all due respect to Major League Soccer, he needs to see higher competition. I'm not saying that MLS is not a league that's good or developing. Of course it is. But when you compare to the Premier League, La Liga, etc., that to me is going to be key. The number 9 position for the USMNT, Tommy Tran, remains the most important part.
They're at El Salvador tonight. Berhalter saying that will be a different opponent. He thinks they'll be more aggressive, higher pressing. And so we'll see how that plays out later tonight on the pitch. Costa Rica, New Zealand, such a big deal in Costa Rica, LME. Government workers, they're given extra time off for lunch to watch their national team. Certainly we know what's at stake here. How do you view this one going in?
Well, that's very nice of Costa Rica, but, Peru took the whole day off as a national holiday. Look what happened to them. So, it's a Latin American custom to get excited for this. And I think Costa Rica should take a few notes from what happened to my Peruvian side against Australia. Don't take this New Zealand side for granted. Yes, they are not as talented, even though the population for both nations are pretty much the same. Costa Rica remains a higher power. And of course, it was just on goal difference that they didn't get an automatic spot below the United States men's national team in CONCACAF. This is a very talented group. Obviously, Keylor Navas, the captain, in goal. But there's still other players like Brian Oviedo, of course, Kendall Watson, and Joe Campbell have signed. That's Brian Ruiz that you're seeing in your image right there. He'll come off the bench, I'm sure. But there's a lot of experience here and a lot of grit. I want to make sure that Costa Rica watched that game with Peru against Australia yesterday and say, don't take anything for granted. New Zealand is a team that's really struggling these days. Obviously, we know about the likes of Chris Wood, the Newcastle striker. After that, it's a very physical team that relies on the collective, that relies on the united front to do what they can do when they don't have the ball. Costa Rica just need to play their game. And on paper, this heavily favors the Latin American, Central American side. But again, take nothing for granted. They need a leader. And that's Keylor Navas at the back, making sure that the likes of Kendall Watson, Joe Campbell, Brian Oviedo, and everybody else are ready. I see a win for Costa Rica, but don't take anything for granted, because I sure hell didn't yesterday.
Winner in Qatar gets invited to go back for the World Cup. All right, quickly here, the summer of strikers. A lot of movement, of course. Give us the latest and the lowdown of your thoughts.
Well, obviously the conversation surrounds around the official announcement. Now Erling Haaland for Manchester City. In Que Golazo, our friend Fabrizio Romano, which, by the way, at 9 a.m. Eastern live, we're going to go live with him answering your transfer questions. But Fabrizio Romano said that this summer is going to be the summer of strikers. And there you have Erling Haaland, the #1 name to discuss as he joins the Premier League. It was his team as a child. His father played for the club, of course, so that's going to be massive. Darwin Núñez is the one to watch, okay? He is not just your prototypical #9, but Liverpool expecting this Uruguayan star to be a main focal point. He is not just good, right, in terms of finishing, but he's a right-footed player who can go left, who can go right, and off the ball, he's going to press like crazy. And that's something that Jurgen Klopp likes. Darwin Núñez, a massive addition to the Premier. And now we have to talk about, because of Darwin Núñez's arrival to Liverpool, Sadio Mane. What's going to happen to him, okay? Bayern Munich offered a 25 million offer to Liverpool. Liverpool, of course, rejected that because that pretty much pays for Sadio Mane's left foot, okay? You need to do way more to pay up for Sadio Mane, but he is 30 years old, so he is looking for one final challenge. If it pays up, then maybe. And then, speaking of Bayern Munich, Robert Lewandowski, he has said, look, he's done with Bayern Munich. He wants to move on. So Barcelona remains the #1 focal point. He's reportedly agreed personal terms with him. So it's really about Barcelona making sure they can get their finances in. And this man in La Liga should be very interesting. And he's a very important part of Xavi's plans, because that's, I think, what Barcelona need. They need a proper #9 that can finish up all that beautiful passes. But there's so much talk of summer strikers, Tommy Tran. Richarlison as well, the 25-year-old Brazilian. Everton won about 50 million. Maybe Tottenham come in for him as well. So many. Gabriel Jesus, who might leave Man City, and maybe Arsenal might chime in. There's so many strikers to discuss. So that's why we call it the summer of strikers, baby.
And we know you and Fabrizio and others will be keeping tabs on the Que Golazo podcast, which on the last one was, I'm sure, much of a therapeutic session. LME, Michael Lahoud, Jimmy Conrad unpacking that tense game out in Qatar, in which Peru fell just short of making it to the World Cup.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.